thank you to our 3 sponsors for supporting our podcast. Johnny Russell's Art Caterers and Milltown Pies, who offer fantastic catering services, Alexander Grace Law, who provide modern and client-led legal services, and SBE Furnishings, who offer high-quality furnishings and electrical items at fantastic prices.
Back to having a bit of fun and a bit of crack. So, Matt Marquis, we can talk about the good times and the cricket you've played. You've played, a number of first team games. You've taken, 7 or 8 wickets. How many of those can you remember? How many of those players can you remember that you've got out in the first team?
I remember my debut, Jez, because me and you opened bowling.
Nice one.
Well, I probably remember most of the games, because there's not that many of them, is there really? I don't know.
You make your debut against Matt?
At Asland.
All right, okay.
I think Posh Pete Maudsley might have made his debut the same day as well. And me and Jez opened bowling, and Ingham and Knowles put on a record opening stand. I think about 190 odd.
Jesus.
Ridiculous.
Have you seen the scorecard?
But I listen to it. I think I bowled reasonably well that day.
Yes, you did. Matt Marquis's figures were 11 overs, none for 36.
Go on.
Hold on, I will get to you, Joe, don't worry. Jez Hope, 12 overs, none for 90.
Ouch.
Jeez.
There's been a few of them, haven't there?
Do you know why Joe's going to be quick here? Because Joe got 5 for, didn't he?
He did. He got all the wickets. He took 5 for 44 off 6 overs, and he got all the wickets.
Me and Jez could hardly walk after, and Joe was all the
Jez, there was one on the Blaze podcast where you got a bit of a panic, weren't there? Which one was that?
Rotten Stall Away.
Rotten Stall, yeah.
Yeah, Joe Martin keeps finding all those. He never finds, any where I get a couple of wickets. So we've you've got Knowles out there, I believe.
No, that wasn't the same game.
Different game after. What I think I do remember about that game, I think it were a little bit about the obviously it's something that it always sticks to me because of the type of facilities we had at the time as well, the practice facilities and the chances we got to bowl. And obviously, we were just dragging a net onto a field then, weren't we, back in them days? And hoping it stayed together and hoping rung didn't fall off and what your head when you were batting if somebody hit it too hard. And
blue bin for wickets.
But I bowled Chippy with the wicket keeper, and he didn't know that I swung ball away because he'd never seen me bowl properly before, and it just showed how often people were seeing each other at nets and stuff like that. It just showed the difference to the standard of practice that there is now. But yeah, that game, and then I think in bar after McKingham spoke to me, and I probably bowled quicker than I probably thought I had to. I probably bowled quicker than I normally bowl because I bent my back a bit because I thought I had to. I just felt like I had to. And McKingham, I remember saying after me, ball was swinging away like, so if you can get one to nip back, you probably cause people a lot of trouble. And then I don't know if we played him again the week after. It was very soon. It was very soon after, and I got Ingham and Knowles with my first 2 wickets. Ingham bowled and then Knowles were caught.
Brilliant.
And Ingham would bowl with one that nipped back at him. I don't think I meant to bowl it. It just happened. It hit some like a ridge or something like that, and just nipped back and bowled it.
Well, he told you to try and bowl it, didn't he? What date was that, Joe Mark?
The second game that Matt talked about was the 5th of July 2003. Good figures all round that day, Jez, can I add?
I'm not bothered, Joe. I'm not bothered. You just keep taking the piss.
Who was our pro?
I don't know. Ryan had gone home, so I know Marcus North pro'd a few times that year, didn't he?
Quite interesting, actually, Matt Stan. It was Siddiqui was there. I might be pronouncing that incorrectly. Pardon my ignorance. But Siddiqui pro'd for us that day, and on Matt's debut, he pro'd for Haslingden.
That be the fellow who was at Padiham? Was it Kashif
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Who was our pro for the debut game, Joe?
Jonathan Bukes.
Jonathan Bukes, yeah, I remember him.
Very strong jaw.
I got my chance that year really because Ryan had gone home, hadn't he, injured, and then obviously the more bowling in the side, and that's when I got my due really. And then we had all sorts of different pros. Like I say, I remember Marcus Northern, is it Clinton Perrin as well? We had that game, I think, at Nelson when Jez told me off. That's one day, Jez, you told me off when I was fielding because you said I run too fast.
What did he mean?
He told me off for running up ball too fast.
Were I being serious or were I?
You were being serious. He told me off because he said you run too fast at ball. Slow down.
What had you misfielded it or something? And he was telling you to slow down on?
Probably, yeah. It probably wasn't like spun of the way. I think it was a game when I was because me and you, Joe, were playing and we were fielding at the motorway side, and some were really low. We couldn't see anything at all. And every time the ball went up in air anyway, everyone just had to shout to us where we were going because we were just stood there taking direction from everyone else.
Just a quick story about Kashif Sadiq that we'll probably have to cut out for legal reasons. But when Hockey got injured that night in the T20, and I put a Mayday call out to every agent in the world about have we got a pro that we can have for the Saturday game. We played Great Howard, I think, on the Saturday, didn't we? So I put this Mayday call out, we need a pro. And I got a message saying that Kashif Sadiq was visiting his family in Nelson. So, and I got given a number for him. So I messaged him and he said, yeah, I'm available. But I've got to get some kit off a fella in Birmingham. Bearing in mind, this is Saturday morning and we're starting at about 1 o'clock. And then when I Googled him, it turns out he has an ICC ban. So I just had to text him back, say, sorry, Cash, we can't do it today, pal.
I tell you, Joe Barton, have you still got some of those scorecards up? Because I do remember a game, mine's not loading up, where we were Haslingden away and there was this pro, there was a sub-pro that we didn't know, and he didn't speak much English and he didn't know much about what was going on. And we were getting close to beating Haslingden, and I've gone into bat, and I think about second ball, I've hit a 6, and we only need about 18, something like that. I don't know if it's this game. And then Joe Bucci runs me out. Is that?
Yeah. That's the same game with the same pro.
Yeah, Joe, but I've hit 6. I think I'm on here. I'm going to win this. And then Joe hits one. I think like he does. It looks like he's hitting it over mid-on. It goes to extra cover. We run one. Joe turns blind. It's easy too. I've run correctly, facing right hand down, looking at the ball, turn round, let's go again, and he shouts no. And I'm run out by half a pitch, and then we got bowled out, I think.
Yeah, that was 8.
Yeah, I remember.
Right, I've got... Right, Jez, how old are you now? 69. How can you remember that in such great detail from, 2003? No way I'm having that.
Things stick with you, you never leave you. So anyway, Matt, so you've got, what great victims they are. You've got them 2 out and 28 for 2, and you got the first 2 wickets. Can you remember any of the others?
I got 4 for against Rishton.
Right.
At home. I remember one game against Accrington. I can't know who their pro is. Was it someone called Seymour? An Australian.
Andre Seymour, yeah.
And it were. I can picture the umpire as well, but I can't remember his name. And I was bowling from Park End, and it was literally first or second over, and there was hardly anybody on game by that point. And it went. They went nobody on because it were a crap day. It was really early doors, and one stayed. It was like ankle high. It didn't bounce. It hit him right in front. I think umpire thought, I'm not giving pro in. I remember you and Matt going absolutely mad at him because it was one that were absolutely stoners against Accrington at home. I remember that one. That probably would have been only pro got out as well. But then I remember a 4 for against Rishton because I remember Finchy was playing and he had a broken finger or like a broken fingernail or something. So he could only field with one hand. It was ridiculous. It was ridiculous. It was ridiculous. So he's fielding at mid-on, quite wide-ish, and this batter skies one. And one of them, it's got real dude. It's gone up. And then I looked and I thought, shit, it's Finchy. And he caught it. And it could only be described as like Greg Brown-esque, one-handed, like in a lunge kind of position, so that he didn't damage his broken fingernail.
Did he hold it?
Yeah, he held it, luckily for him. So I was about to boot him up arse if he'd have dropped it.
You got Paul Worley, Jonathan Dobson, Sean Wise, and Matthew Lethart, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Went to college with him as well, so we're good at that.
Yeah. So that's so you're playing first team. You're getting some good victims there. So Joe Martin, have you anything about Matt's cricketing career?
So a lot of the people that played in Matt's era were captained by my uncle, and I always ask, what were your memories of being captained by Shez?
It were interesting. I don't think it. No disrespect, I don't think it moulded me much as a cricketer. It were good fun. I think that was the era when we were our nobbishness was like a great level. It was when we were just probably started drinking. We were turning up probably worse for wear majority of time, and we were just hard work. And you know what Shez is like when people start to put the pressure on a bit. Words just blend all into one, and it just becomes a mishmash of like mumbling and different words, which in turn then starts us off taking piss even more, which just descended into chaos most of the time. I should imagine looking back, we were probably really we weren't horrible, and we weren't like, I know we talked about it before about when we were playing cricket, we all wanted to win, and we all wanted to win for Lowerhouse. We all did it for the right reasons, but we were dicks as well. We were just.
Well, you've already mentioned there were 6 of us, weren't there, in a group, and we were all obviously at that age where we wanted to be taking the piss out of everybody all the time, so it can't have been easy for Shez. But I'm not having that we were the first group. I mean, Jez coined us the Rugrats, but there must have been other groups like that going back down the years, Jez. So I'm thinking about your brother Matt and Simon and Proc and Paul Stanley. They'd have been hard work in their group. And then going back even further than that, when you were coming through with Jack Salkeld, Wally Monk, Spink Spinner, you must have all been hard work as well, surely.
I think 2 things with that, Joe. I think the difference with us was we were all so close together, weren't we, in age. We basically all came in one big lump straight away. And we were all there at the same time. We were all very close as friends outside of the actual cricket, weren't we? So that's why we were probably just slightly different than some of the others. But I heard Shez's podcast where he said about throwing it into the wicketkeeper every time because he'd seen it on TV. Now, all best intentions and everything, and I know he took the piss out of me for it on that podcast, but it was the most ridiculous idea that anyone had ever come to in a second team game. 2 reasons. None of us could particularly throw it straight, especially if we were fielding first, because we were all still pissed. And secondly, we didn't have a wicketkeeper who could catch half the time, did we? Unless Iggy was wicket keeping, we literally had nobody who could catch it. So it was just, you'd have some kids stood behind the stumps and us peppering balls at him, and it was just ridiculous. But that was Shez.
I think Shez got an hard time off us, but I think Pete Gaynor possibly got it worse.
Yeah.
Just because, like I say, we were knobs, and Shez was more probably aggressive in his manner of dealing with us, whereas Pete Gaynor were more mild-mannered. And that just descended into chaos until at points where he absolutely lost his shit with us, and that just made it funnier.
Although another lunatic arrived by that point. Pink had arrived by that point, hadn't he? And he was daft as a brush, weren't he?
Yeah.
Dave Krupinski.
You might have heard these tales before, but there's a couple of tales when there were one at Ramsbottom. We were playing then, Joe, that game at Ramsbottom and Stanley. And it was like a Sunday morning, and we're in the Ramsbottom changing rooms. And they have that long table that runs down the length of the away dressing. That table that seemed to get shorter and shorter by a year. Like they're taking a little bit off every year, didn't they? And So Pete Gainer's there reading his broadsheet on a Sunday morning, being all sophisticated. And I think there was a bit of rain about, so we've all decided we're going to have a game of cricket in changing rooms. And Pete sat at the side reading his paper, oblivious to what's going on. I think Charlie were batting with a collection box. Johnny Russell's bouncing it off the table and tries to bounce him, and Charlie hooks it, and it goes straight through the middle of the paper and smashes Pete Gainer right in his moustache, to like absolute hysterics of everybody. And everybody starts leaving the dressing room one by one, giggling but trying not to burst out in full-on laughter. So we all end up outside the dressing room, absolutely pissing his pants. At which point, Pete Gainer walks out of the dressing room. So everyone walks back in the dressing room one by one and absolutely pissing themselves because Charlie just nearly knocked his moustache off.
Yeah.
And then you mentioned Pinky as well, didn't you?
Yeah.
When back in the days when we didn't have any roll-on covers or anything like that, you had to go down to the groundsman's hut and get Joe Mangle out and get the
wheelbarrow.
Put all the covers on the wheelbarrow. So Pinky, being a couple of years younger than us, is dead key. Runs down to the groundsman's hut, grabs the wheelbarrow, and it's pissing down at this point. So we need to get the covers on quickly. So Pinky sets off running as fast as he can with this wheelbarrow full of covers, only for Cotton to think it's a great idea just to flick his heels as he runs past him. So he flicks his heels and Pinky goes full on Superman. But I don't know how it managed to, but wheelbarrow dragged him for about 10 foot, and plus as well it was wet, so he's sliding as well. So we're all in hysterics. Pete Gainer's seen this and he comes bolting over, marching over to us. And I don't know what he was thinking in say like we just said, you know, what are you doing? But he just turned to me and he says, it's how people die. I challenge you to find anyone who's died who's up onto a wheelbarrow full of covers, but that obviously made it worse, but it set us all off in hysterics. And covers about another 10 minutes before they got put on, so wicket was soaking, the game got called off.
I think that's the...
I think it's really important, Matt, that you mentioned a collection box then.
Matt, all I would say is Joe's trying to goad you here. What I will say is the net is closing in.
What I've done, Jez, I've been on to my legal representatives during the week, and okay. I've prepared quite a lengthy statement.
Oh, that's
after which, when I've read it, I'm going to choose to answer no comment to all questions that I'm asked.
Right. Is it worth recapping what the incident was?
Well, Jez went through a phase of wanting all pile-ons in the bottom half of the club. So on the dance floor, when Jez called all pile-on, you had to get on the dance floor and have as many as you could of an all pile-on. As the pile sort of like dismantles, Jez is sort of like on the floor, bleeding profusely from a head wound. There was Todmarin's tin collection box in and around the all pile on with a patch of blood and a patch of skin on it. To this day, nobody in the second team, apart from one or two sort of people who've said it's not me, Joe Beneducci, I've never actually found out who hit Jez with the Todmarin second team collection box.
If Honest John were pricing it up, how do you think the book would look?
So it would go along the lines of Matt Stansfield 25-1.
It wouldn't have been Matt Stanny, he'd have missed you.
He would have just been running to do all pile on, he'd have missed it. Joe Bonaducci would have been an outsider, I think, because I think he had more about him. I don't think he would have been so underhand, so he would have been about 8. So he would have been about 8. Johnny Russell, I don't think he would have done that. Johnny Russell was more fun-loving, so Johnny would have been 6s. Charlie was always a fitness fanatic, but possibly wouldn't have thought about it, so he'd have been 5. So we down to Matt Marquis and Gav, Probably Matt Marquis at 5-2, and we'd look at probably Gav at 2-1, if not a bit shorter.
Ooh.
So
Can I have a tenner on Marquis?
Yeah.
So that's the allegation, and are you sticking with no comment for now, Matt? Or?
I'm just no. What I'll do, I'll just like to read this statement out that I've prepared prior to this, if you don't mind.
Go on then.
It wasn't me. It took me a while to write.
I've no doubt it did, Matt, and I've no doubt you got some help from some solicitor somewhere.
I did.
I mean, I know Blaise has just talked about, and he's described what happened. So you have got some insight into it, Matt, and obviously you were there. Just tell us what your recollection of it, starting from Todd away. Just tell us.
I don't remember the game. Obviously, it's no doubt been embellished over the years, this tale, because I think it gets retold every year. I mean, I can't even. What year were it? What year were we saying it were?
It'd have been 97, 98.
Yeah.
And Joe, I don't know if you can have a look at scorecards, but I've got a funny feeling it was the first bank holiday of the season.
I think Jez got some wickets.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I think so.
So we played away, and were you driving then, Stanley? Did you drive straight away?
Yeah, I did pretty much, but I don't know if I were driving then.
I don't think any of us would have been driving, so we would have probably had a couple of pints there, wouldn't we?
Yeah.
And then come.
I think if you give your own account and don't rely on others to help you, please.
Todd away.
To be honest, all I remember is the old Parlons, yes, and then.
Matt, can I just stop you again there, please?
I think your interview is becoming oppressive.
When you keep saying, to be honest, I think you should be on time.
Jez, just to interject there about the game, an absolutely marvellous performance by yourself of 21 overs, 6 for 70.
Thank you.
Well, Bob,
21 overs.
I mean, how the hell you were still walking, I don't know.
And then a 6-inch long, half an inch deep cut above my eye.
Oh right, yeah.
My recollection, though, I know we said the old Parlons used to be on the dance floor, but my recollection is this was in the back room, the old Parlon for this.
Oh, hey, that's new evidence, Jez.
I don't think it was. I think it was on the dance floor.
My recollection it was in the back room.
That must have been when he missed you, Jez.
Yeah, that's probably his practice goal. No, it was in front of the toilets, the ladies' toilets, on the carpet there, just before the dance floor. So go on, just talk about the game. So what's happened at Todd, and you've come back.
I don't remember anything about the game.
4th of May, 1997, Matt. It was.
Oh, sorry, I'm on a different year.
Well, Jez got 6 for 55.
Oh, did he? You got 6 for 70 a year after Jez, so well bowled.
Thank you.
Probably your Dan's year.
Yeah.
I remember
it was
that year.
It was definitely that, because...
You want me to talk about that year after, Jez, as well?
Yeah, you can do later.
Do you know what the novel thing was about the collection box and the reason why we brought it back with us?
Go on.
You couldn't get your money out of it. It was brand new, and it was all pieced together with a slot in the top, but it was all nailed together, so there's no way to actually get your money out of the collection box.
Whose collection was it?
I think we just nicked it. I don't think anyone got a collection, and I'm assuming it was about the second or third game of season, so no one had spotted this design flaw, because at that point no one had a collection. So
we need to try and get hold of the scorebook from that second team game. Joe Martin, this is a project for you. See if you can get the second 11 scorebook.
We could also do with finding that evidence to see what's happened with it. It might have been shoved up the tree with Corey's gear.
I bet it's the same night, that, because that was a bank holiday night.
I can tell you a story about that night as well, if you want.
Go on then, tell us.
Well, you part of it. You don't remember this when It was a bank holiday, so it will be the same night, but it was pissing down, weren't it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I do know. And
this is why I think again the finger of blame gets pointed towards me and Beneducci for Corrie's gear as well, because we were sat in the clubhouse as we did in them days on bank holidays. It was probably about 2 a.m, and it's absolutely bouncing down. And Payne bet me and Joe Beneducci that we wouldn't streak race across the cricket field. It were a great idea at the time. So we went into the changing rooms and took all our clothes off, and then we set off racing. And I mean, I know there's only one winner there, isn't there, in a race between me and Benedict, even though they were about 6 stone lighter than me. And we set off running. And what I remember is just before we got back to changing rooms, Joe did one of them proper comedy slips. You know, when your feet come right from under you, and you're like hovering air for a few seconds and land flat on your back. So he flies up in air. So I'm stood there, dangerously so, bent double, naked, laughing my head off. And then we had to go for showers at 2 in the morning. So then the next morning, obviously, Corrie turns up and thinks Chippy's hanging in a tree, and starts whacking a stump on his hand, threatening to kill us all.
He did. So that were down to you two?
No. we were too busy showering together. At 2 in the morning.
I wish I had done Corrie's gear, Jez, but I didn't.
I wish I had, after Wade spoke to me all season.
Yeah, interesting scorecard that. You're right, Stan. It was bank holiday, bank holiday as well.
Yeah. That's why we're all in high spirits, shall we say?
Yeah, we get a day off. That's what most scorecards look like, Joe Martin, throughout that year. It's quite unbelievable. Todd's pro on that day was Hansi Cronje's brother.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Franz,
right.
was it?
Yeah.
Franz.
Yeah. Franz.
I suspect Hansi had a tenner on us by the look of it.
Look at that scorecard. 1 38 4 1 1 5 6 9 2 2 1. So anyway, around that time when you were getting in the first team and any other stories and joining Dooch and Matt Stanley, because you're all of that ilk.
I've got 3 names that I want to throw at Matt, and he can choose to elaborate or not, depending on how he's feeling. Number 1, Malcolm.
Go on,
We called you Malcolm for about 10 years. Why was that?
Throw the 3 names first, and then I'll decide which one I decide, which is safest to talk about.
Okay. Number 1, Malcolm. Number 2, Janice Battersby. Number 3, Richard Kelly.
I'll probably talk about first 2, probably safer, won't it, I think?
I don't know, it depends how far you go with one of them.
I ain't got my dad to back me up with third one anymore, have I? The Malcolm tale comes from the infamous party at the Payne's house when Richard was used as an Uber by Corrie, and Corrie decided to ring South Africa from Maureen and Michael's landline, and then denied that he was the person that wrapped up the £100 phone bill, even though he was the only South African in the house at the time, and dragged Dudley the goat round. And there were a couple of young ladies came back, and one of Louise's mates obviously mistook my name for Malcolm instead of Matthew, which Ted Whittle carried on calling me for years after that. And in fact, I actually bumped into him a few weeks ago on walking over Cloud Bridge, and he went, "All right, Malcolm." And that was 1997. That weren't it? The Janice Battersby tale. It was when people, you probably weren't allowed to do it, but we used to regularly work the bar, Jez. I mean, all of us didn't we? Used to work the bar, but we used to work the bar. It was like 16-year-olds and be left on our own to work the bar, lock up, try and drink the fridge, and the like. And I don't know, Joe. Were we working with anybody else, or was it just us two?
There must have been, because it were Barkers do it, were rammed, so there must have been others there.
There were Barkers doing. All Barkers are camping as they do on field, but it were getting towards the end of the night, and me and Joe, we would have been about 16, 17, and there were a woman there, and she was an absolute spit for Janice Battersby off Coronation Street, but she took a bit of a shine to us. But to both of us, and she was being quite suggestive when she would come into a bar. I don't know if she was with one at Barkers at the time or anything like that, but me and Joe thought it was hilarious.
What was she saying, Matt? Matt, what was she saying?
Something about, you want to go for a ride on something, and I don't think she was talking about her motorbike, Jason.
Both of you?
Both of us. She probably could have handled both of us, to be fair, looking at her.
Comfortably.
So it would come to locking up time, there were only me and Joe left. So she was allowed to remain edge of bar. Other bikers got wind of this. And so as we're locked up, she's hanging around the steps. And a couple of these other bikers took umbrage to it. Weren't we happy that we weren't two area arse bikers. We were just two young lads, like clean shaven and everything. These bikers started getting a bit aggressive towards us and actually chased us off our own ground. To the point where me and Joe ran away and then stood on wall on Lowerhouse Lane, giving them V's and showing his arse.
And you haven't done anything. You haven't actually done anything.
No, we didn't get a chance. These, I'm sure she was well looked after by one of the bikers after we went.
Yeah, I'm sure. Brilliant stories. Are the Matt Stanley? Have you anything else to bring up?
No.
Your pop industry and your career around that?
No, I don't think there's anything around that, is there?
I was just going to mention a funny one about Stanley, actually, when me and Stanley were at bar once, and it were middle of winter, and it was absolutely freezing cold, and steps had frozen, and it was treacherous. Like, people were coming in, and they were like war injuries, people coming, like falling down steps and all sorts. So somebody come to a bar and they said, have you got any salt? Have you got any salt? So Stanley went looking behind the bar, and he came back, and it was the tiniest little salt shake you've ever seen in your life. And he tried to get rid of that. He tried to get rid of assault steps with a pinch of salt.
We had some great nights working that bar, didn't we? Remember that time when
Terry Small opened the window?
Terry Small opened that window in my bedroom. That were classic. But when that time that we'd worked on a Saturday night and we went into Padiham to Taj Gourmet for something to eat, and we walked in, and there's a lady sat there on the seat in Taj Gourmet. She's covered in rice and curry. It's all on the wall behind her. She's absolutely covered head to toe in this stuff. There's poppadoms at the side of her and everything. So we walked in and looked, and we went to the counter, and the fella behind the counter just went, "Domestic, mate." So we bought 15 quid's worth of curry and thrown it at his wife. Fantastic.
I mean, possibly a good time now, Matt, to talk about, your granddad there. And if you want to mention anything about your dad, I know we dedicated the other one to him, but if you want to just mention a few words about that.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Neither of them were cricketers or anything like that, so I don't know where the cricket side of it. I think my mum's dad might have played a bit of cricket, but nothing to write home about. But no, just a sporting background, really.
Yeah.
And just instilling that go out and play sport kind of thing, and the value. I think the values that sport brings, and what it can bring. And obviously, Burnley Rugby Club, through my dad having a big part of it, and then my granddad just with the fitness side of everything. And there's still a lot of people now when I go to Lowerhouse and that. I mean, lads who are firefighters, probably older than Charlie and that, but that used to go down Thompson Centre and train with my granddad. Yeah. And then obviously a lot of people that knew my dad through working when he used to work the doors. And I remember Pete Gaynor saying he once got thrown out at Angels for having long hair, like my dad.
His moustache or his hair?
Yeah, he had long hair, got thrown out, not letting because he had long hair.
Yeah. But great memories, Matt. Great memories. And, your dad were still coming down the season before last, watching the games and everything. It's such a shame, but you live on through them, and they'll always be remembered. And like you said, up at the rugby club, and it's fantastic that we can have these memories and keep remembering them when we have these types of podcasts and we chat over at the club when the club's open again.
Yeah, most definitely.
Is there anything else from anyone else that we want to clear up on? Joe Martin?
Yeah. So in 2011 and 12, Matt had obviously played second team for a very long period of time. And we were obviously going on to win the league and the double. And Matt made some cameo appearances in those 2 years. And Francois still talks about them to this day. When we're coaching the APP and stuff like that, he still makes reference to Matt Marquis coming in those 2 years and saying he wasn't bothered about whether he batted or bowled. He just gave his all to make sure that we won the game, and that whether that were through his fielding or just how we were talking to different players and stuff. We were all really young still, and again that had a real sort of profound effect on the team. The fact that he was willing to do that, even when he was bowling 14 overs a week in the seconds, still coming up and doing it made a massive difference to that year. Definitely.
Yeah, it's like we were saying, Joe, at the start. An out-and-out club man. That's what Lowerhouse is full of, and it's fantastic to hear that. Cheers, thanks very much, Joe.
Jess, just to kind of finish that bit off, I think it kind of speaks volumes and is something that Matt should be proud of. The fact that nearly 10 years later, Francois still talks about it now.
Yeah, I think that's just Francois being absolutely bonkers as well, though, isn't it?
The amount of times over those 3 years when he was pro, obviously I don't drink, but I would often say, I'll stay and work the bar. And there were you, Francois and Gav, just staying on a Sunday until very, very late. And I kept putting, one night I was saying, Francois, I've got to go home. I'm extremely tired. And I kept putting the shutters up and they kept taking them back down. Keep serving them beer.
I think just what you touched on there about them ones like 2011, 2012, I think probably the same for Stanley as well is that like it's getting the opportunity. It's not about that. It's because we've always been at one club, and I think first and foremost, and I know I speak for myself and Stanley as well, we're Lowerhouse fans, aren't we, Stanley? And getting the opportunity to be part of it is fantastic, because a lot of people that go down and watch that never ever get that opportunity, and I'm sure they'd give a lot to be able to do that, even just for one game. So it's enjoyable being able to do it whatever game you do it in.
Yeah, you hear it. Dooch, is there anything you want to bring up before we conclude this podcast?
No, I think that's a great way to end that.
Yeah. Stanley?
Yeah, I'm good, Jez. Thank you.
Yeah. Brilliant. Right, Matt, thanks ever so much for coming on. The investigation is still going on into Selection Boxgate, and I have got some new evidence that I am going to produce in the near future, including some new witnesses. So, you can say no comment or I didn't do it all you want, but it will go against you. You do not understand.
Can I just question something as a layperson? New witnesses.
A layperson who was present at the time.
but new witnesses 23 years later, Jez.
Correct.
I'm not happy with that.
Retrograde. Oh, well, there we go. I think that highlights something there, Jez, doesn't it?
That speaks volumes as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
I think we might be looking towards a conspiracy as opposed to individual charges, the way this is going.
I'm concerned, Jez, if there's DNA evidence, I am gravely concerned because that collection box came home in my bag.
Oh.
It might have some of my skid marks or something on the side of it.
Oh, God.
He wrapped it in his nozzle.
Anyway, brilliant. That's a great podcast, lads. Thanks ever so much for all your contributions, everyone who's been on. For the supporters, we'll try to get the podcasts out as quickly as we can. We're all doing our best to edit them and get them produced and then get them to Adam and then he can send them out. But again, when this comes out, hopefully in the next, before anywhere near the season starts, keep supporting the club, keep coming down, and thanks very much for listening. Don't forget to subscribe and like it and comment it if you need to. Thanks very much, everyone.
Gordon, send more hosts to save the house.